the digital mortgage conference. It's been pretty spectacular. I would say in terms of technology events, it's absolutely the best event in the mortgage business. And really, for C-suite events, I mean, it's just an incredible event. So if you have any questions about digital mortgage, let me know. Probably won't cover them in today's call, but I will be interviewing some leaders that were here at the event, and I will be creating some content over the next couple days through next week on what were my takeaways from Digital Mortgage 2019. Today we have Craig Strent as our special guest. What's up, Craig?
Hey, Dave. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you. I think I was in LA last week when you and I recorded I don't know, I think it ended up being a little over 20 minutes, but we created a pretty cool video. We didn't want to release it before today's call because we wanted to do I wanted to do a full top producer interview with Craig on how he gets business from CPAs and financial planners, and just didn't want to release that. But we will be releasing another 20-minute interview with Craig probably later today or tomorrow. So Craig, for folks that haven't heard your story or don't know as much as I know, let us know where you're at, what you're doing, and then let's get into how you're winning with financial planners.
Yeah, so I've been an originator since '94. In 1998, I started my own company with my partner, one of my partners. Was a broker till 2010, then became an independent mortgage banker, our firm here in Rockville, Maryland, DC area. And I'm both an originator now and CEO of Apex Home Loans. And my primary niche is working with financial advisors, some niche in the divorce area as well, but primary focus is on the financial advisor niche for the origination side.
That's quite a career. And, for your production, what are you averaging per month? What do you think you'll do for the year in terms of your personal production?
It's a refi year, Dave, as you know, so that jacks it up quite a bit. Last year I was around 50. This year I expect to be much higher than that as a result of all the additional refinance business coming in. So yeah, and as I said, my sort of time is split between origination and company management as well.
Well, that's just incredible. And then to me, the most important metric of all is how many families have you served with a total cost analysis? Do you happen to remember what that number is right now?
I don't, but something tells me you have that very handy and are going to tell me the exact number from day one of when I started using the software like 15 years ago.
It's over 2,000. It's like 2,215 maybe.
Okay.
But it's a lot of total cost analysis. And folks, when I did the interview on Friday with Craig, it was about going from white belt as an advisor to black belt. I'm working on some content to create some clarity on what does it mean to be a white belt? What does it mean to be a yellow belt, orange belt? And then what's the difference between a brown belt and a black belt? And so Craig is part of some research that I'm doing, and that interview will be, how Craig, how to go from white belt to black belt. It will be a black belt interview with Craig. So stay tuned for that. Check it out. So Craig, let's talk about why financial planners, and obviously you've made it your niche and like your number one pillar of referrals, but let's take it from two different, let's not try to sell everybody on that or influence that. Let's try to hey, you may be getting a lot of business from past clients and realtors, but you should have a couple financial planners that you're intentional with that are referral partners. And you know what? You also might want to make it your number one pillar. So why don't you start with just making a case for making that a serious business focus?
Yeah, Dave, and so much of what I've learned, incidentally, for people watching is from, mentors that I've had for many, many years over the period of time. I've learned so much from you over the years, Tim Brahim and Stephen Marshall and Barry Habib, just to name a few that I've followed for so long, that I've swiped and adapted a lot from. And one of the things I learned a long time ago was just having diversified pillars of business, make referral sources, minor referral sources. And that's really a strong hedge against being in a refi environment like we are in now, because you want to make sure that you're sort of going wide across all different types of sources and then finding the ones you like working with and then going deep with those people. So I'm not anti any particular referral source at all. I think there's a lot of benefits to working with advisors over a different source and making that your primary niche. for lifestyle and other reasons. And that's why I pursue that niche. But I certainly believe in diversifying your book of business. If you're getting every single deal from realtors, I think that's a mistake. And if you're getting every single deal from another source, that's a mistake. It's good to have of course, your past database, no doubt, your natural market, people that know you, friends and family, and then maybe 2 or 3 strong diversified niches: financial advisors, divorce, realtors, maybe it's networking, maybe it's CPAs, and so that's how I've structured my business.
So let's just talk about specific things that make working with financial planners different, better than other pillars. Like, you
Absolutely.
know, I've got some things, but like from your perspective, what are the specific, this pillar, this strategy, why?
I mean, it to me, the level of professionalism when dealing with an advisor is overwhelming. These people come to work every day, work regular hours, they're available, they take a very systematic, mathematical approach to their clientele, and advisors don't have mortgage people on their team. It's very odd. If you ask an advisor if they get asked about their mortgage by their clients a lot, they say all the time. And if you ask the advisor what they do, they'll say they primarily manage assets. So if you think about it, who's managing the liability side of the balance sheet? It doesn't make any sense that there be no mortgage partner in that process. They have CPAs on their team. They have estate planning attorneys on their team. Why wouldn't they have a mortgage person on the team to manage that other side of the balance sheet? So 1, it's a natural fit. They need us. 2, they're not getting called a lot by mortgage people. All the mortgage people are calling realtors. So if you know how to lead, and we'll talk about how to call them and what you should do, then it's a natural progression that they're going to want to talk to you and that they're going to need your services. It's a benefit as well, because they don't want to just tell a client to, hey, call your bank, or hey, call your servicer. They don't want to do that. They want to have somebody that looks good. And one of the reasons advisors typically have not had mortgage partnerships in the past, if you ask them, they will tell you a lot of times that they personally have had a bad experience with a mortgage person, or through a client have had a bad experience. So you have to demonstrate your competence, and we'll talk about that as well. But you asked me why advisors, and those people who have heard me speak before know there's 3 major reasons I always come back to. One is that people pay advisors for their advice. So inherently, they're going to follow that advice. People don't pay their buyer's agent for their advice. The seller's paying them. And the realtor might give them a few names. But they're paying their advisor. And they ask their advisor first when it comes to money. So it's a much warmer referral, okay? Additionally, advisors, they don't give out 3 names. They give out 1 name. They say, here's who you should call. This is the person I like. And then people do it. That's 2. And then finally, one that I think is huge is that advisors do not work weekends. They don't. They're golfing or fishing or boating or spending time with the clients and their family, whatever. But they're not calling you on the weekends, and you can keep more regular hours. So for me, it's also a lifestyle decision to be working with advisors. And the loyalty factor, this is just more, the loyalty factor is just off the charts comparative to other sources.
Love it. So just to get clear for everybody, it's a blue ocean. The competition isn't as much. The quality of the referrals are better. And then here's another one, is that you will be better. If you rise to the standards of delivering professional advice, you have intentional relationships with people that get paid for their advice, you will become a better mortgage professional. So, my advice to everyone who is local, referral based, like that is your career, is that you need to have at least one. It's just a complete mistake to not have an incredibly thoughtful, intentional, and we're going to talk about how to identify what's a good referral partner, what kind of business can you expect per year, what are the rhythms of a healthy relationship. We're going to talk about that. But if you don't have one, you're just making a mistake with your career. And again, I wrote a white paper, back in the day when I was an originator. That was my primary source of business, and I had over 100, active referral partners. I had a half a dozen that referred me a tremendous amount of business, and so you can have a lot of them, and you don't have to promise referrals to get them to do business with you. You don't have to pay them to get them to do business with you. You can do it on the value of your advice. So do it because it will make you better. And then I'm going to just one last thing, and then let's get into it, Craig. I think everybody should have like 3. because the reason I like 3 is a magic number for everybody is because you've learned how to have the conversation where it's not just like, I'm going to refer you all my business. You've learned how to kind of scale it. If you have at least 3 financial planners that you respect, they respect you, and you're their go-to person for mortgage advice. And then, like I said, if you have 3, you will show up better with your realtor partners. You will be more valuable to your realtor partners, and your whole mortgage practice will be what I would just call sustainable, healthy, and you will have done what Amazon can't do. You will have, I don't know, just secured your career as a referral-based local mortgage pro. Craig, anything you want to add to that before we get into the next question?
It's more fun and it's more impactful. When you understand how a mortgage fits into financial planning, and instead of slinging rates and closing costs, you can structure a loan to complement somebody's long-term, short-term financial planning goals, help them pay for college, help them max out their retirement plan, buy the life insurance they need. When you can do those things, it just feels so much better than, here's the rate, here's the cost. I mean, that's obviously part of it. You've got to do that stuff, but you have such a greater impact on people's lives when working with the advisor and using the mortgage as part of the financial plan, not looking at it in a vacuum. And to me, I love it. And the clients really appreciate it, and the advisor really appreciate it. It's just a better feeling all around.
So, and you just put the explanation mark, it's more fun. So I am going to transcribe this call. I am going to write an article on it because I think it's an important topic. I'm not going to make this a mandated, if you want to be a black belt at mortgage coach, you have to have 3 financial advisors, but I probably should. It probably should. I don't think you should call yourself a black belt if you don't have some financial planners that you have strategic relationships with. So, okay, we made the case. We're 11 minutes into this. We didn't take up the whole call making the case. Let's get into the how. So let's talk about how to identify a target planner to work with. What are you looking for, in that planner, and then how are you targeting them? And let's just talk about that for, I don't know, at least 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. One last thing, Craig, before you rip on that. If you guys have questions for Craig, I'm going to be monitoring our Facebook Live, so feel free to put comments. If there's a big bam, whoa, that was a takeaway, Craig says a great quote, put that in comments. So again, put your questions and big takeaways in comments. And Craig, if you could talk about how you identify or how you recommend loan officers identify key targets.
Yeah, well, I mean, a good way to identify it is to ask people you know. I mean, the first thing you could do is go to your entire network and say, hey, do you have a financial advisor? Yes. You do? Great. Do you like him or her? Yes. Great. Would you mind making a warm introduction for me? So you could easily gather names of good advisors. Do you have an advisor? No. Do you think you need one? Yeah, maybe. Would you like me to introduce you? Boom. There's a warm referral. Do you have an advisor? Yes. Is he good? Is he bad? She bad? They're not good. Okay. Would you like a new referral? So every answer results in a new opportunity. You can certainly do this at the end of closing. This goes all the way back to page 5 of the 1003, Dave, to you guys and the old crew there. Every single client. I mean, you just closed on your mortgage. You have all your paperwork together. You just handled a big financial transaction. Now is an ideal time to go and meet with a financial advisor. We offer a free consultation with some local advisors. Would you like to take us up on it? Very simple question. Or if they already had an advisor and they listed it on that page 4, page 5, whatever it was of the 1003, you could then send some kind of summary of what just happened after closing to the advisor for them to add to their plan. So there's so many things you could do to make this warm in terms of getting the advisors and targeting them. If you want to target outside of that without asking people, independent advisors are generally the best ones to go after. There's a lot of advisors that work for banks or other companies that also do mortgages. Obviously, those aren't going to be great prospects for you.
Couple more ideas I want to throw on the fire. And if you are on this call and you're listening to it and you target advisors, let us know what you're doing. But I do think, my number one priority would be getting introductions and referrals from my best clients. So think of the people that love you the most, that gave you 5-star service, they refer you the most. Find out who their financial planner is. Have that intentional conversation. So no doubt, Craig, number one. But, I do believe in this concept of being the digital mayor in the marketplace that you live. And I would go on LinkedIn and I would want to know who are the financial planners in my closest proximity that are playing the LinkedIn game. You know, I would want to know who they were. If there are some planners that are playing the Facebook game in my local market, remember, I want to be the digital mayor of my city. I want to know who those people were. You know, I cold call them, but it's better to warm call them. So, I mean, I would try to get an introduction to them. I have to imagine, like Craig, he's been doing this for so long, he knows who those people are. But like, if you don't, and you might not, you know, do some searches, find out, Google financial planner in your city or your zip code, and see who also wants to be the digital mayor as a financial planner. You know, you want to know that. Craig, what about, like, let's face it, there are some financial planners that are like great referral partners, super fun to work with and super profitable to work with. And then we know there's some financial planners that are like not the best partners. What are some of the criteria that you're just looking for, like when you're talking to a first time, and I'm not saying they're new to being a financial planner, but you're talking to a first time that you're trying to assess, is this going to be a fun, profitable relationship? And then what are some things that, like, landmines, stay away from this guy?
Yeah. People think that, you know, the bigger and more successful the advisor, the better. And that's actually incorrect. So if somebody's managing hundreds of millions of dollars at a really big fancy place, like, that's actually not good, because they probably don't have that many clients, and their clients probably have a lot of money and don't necessarily need mortgages. So you want more sort of middle market advisory people. You don't want, you know, I'm the guy at, I don't know, I'll just make it up, you know, Credit Suisse or Morgan Stanley, and they've got hundreds of millions of dollars in the top dog in the city. Like, that's actually not your target at all, because those people don't really have as much of a need. Remember that advisors at a high level try to limit the amount of clients they have and just have a really high minimum. So you want people that are actually doing hardcore planning, helping people at a base level from the time they have a kid to buy a home to need insurance all the way forward to retirement. So you want them sort of going through the stages of life where there's going to be a mortgage that's needed. So those are more of your independent middle market type of advisors, not your super high people that you'll see top 100 advisors in the country in Wall Street Journal, which just came out. That's not your target list.
Got it. You know, I found that to also be the case. I mean, one of the questions I would ask in the meeting, and we'll get to in the meeting, but, you know, how many clients do you serve? You know, what's an ideal client for you? And, you know, you will talk to some people where, I like to start young and help them grow. And then that some of them will say, well, you know, minimum net worth of X, and they need to have, you know, X hundreds of thousands of dollars with me. So, you know, you want to know what, you know, is an ideal client to them. And then I also just think there's just this psychographic. I mean, there are planners that once you talk to them, once they go through your experience and they see the value, like, they get it. They're like, wow, that's really valuable. And then there are people that's like, oh, it's good that there's people like you out there. You know, I mean, so you really need to be looking for people that are an essence match. I love the point you just made. So let's talk, first of all, anything else on targeting, identifying, kind of building my list of who I want to go after? Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you could go anywhere and find advisors. I mean, you'll find them at the country club, of course. You could find them at any chamber or networking event. You can go there and get them. A great thing to do is to invite them to an event as a guest if you're part of an organization that might have good speakers from time to time. You know, certainly send them a book that might be of interest to them, and then do a follow-up. So there's so many ways that you can target advisors. But the easiest one, by far the layup, is just going to your natural market for sure and your past clients and asking for warm referrals. And you've done a good job. That shouldn't be an issue. You've got to know what to say when you get that referral, and we'll get to that. But that's in terms of your question, Dave, on how to target them and build a list. We just gave people, you know, 5 or 6 different ways to do it. It'd be easy to get a big.
Totally agree. And I don't know, I think, like, you should have at least 20 people in your database where, you know everything about them, and you're targeting. Probably 30 is probably the minimum, because if the goal is 10, 10%, you might have a better batting average than that. But I would just say conservatively, if you want to have 3 awesome relationships, profitable, cool, energized relationships, you probably need to target 30-ish. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Craig?
Yeah, like I said at the top, my belief is you should go wide whenever going after a new referral source. a field, group, niche. You go super wide across a wide spectrum. And then once you find people that you think you can work with and you like and see value in what you do, then you go super deep with them. Certainly having 10 advisors who are good for a couple, few deals a year, that's obviously a home run. I've got a lot more than that because it's been so long. And over the years, I've done so much teaching that there's more in my sphere. But I think if you start with a goal of 5 to 10 solid advisors, you're really off to a great start.
And yeah, bring up how many transactions a year is a good planner, and what does your most valuable planner generate in terms of transactions annually?
Look, obviously that's going to change, Dave, and I'll answer your question, but that's going to change in a refi environment because when you're in a refi environment, everybody's asking their financial advisor, not their realtor, by the way. Everybody's asking their financial advisor, right, who to call for refinancing. So that number just spikes. In a normal environment, depending on how many advisors you have, you're asking me a typical advisor might be good for 3 or 4 loans a year. So a really good advisor might be good for 15 to 20 loans a year. So it depends on how many of them you have and what environment that you are in.
Agreed. And so guys, for those of you that have posted these questions, they're good questions. I'll make sure we weave them into the conversation and keep the questions coming, guys. We will have time for Q&A. So I'm just trying to follow kind of a logical progression, everybody. Like, why should you do this? How should you build the list? Who should you identify? And now we got to get a meeting with them. And then I will get into details on what do we do in the meeting? How do we follow up? We'll get into all that, but how do you get a meeting?
You ask for it. Because you just got a warm referral. Hey Dave, I understand you're a local advisor, here in LA, and John and Jane are mutual clients. Really have great things to say about you. I don't know if you currently have a mortgage partnership, but I specialize in mortgage planning, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about how I help fit the mortgage into the financial plan. So that's a very basic one. You can go much deeper with that and overcome objections, but that's where I would start. In terms of that first phone call. And you're going to have a lot of receptive advisors because they don't get calls from mortgage people. It's not a realtor call. It's totally different.
Yeah. And guys, I just want to reemphasize how easy this is. I mean, when I built my mortgage practice, and I know I could go back and do this again, I wouldn't use the yellow pages because that dates me a little bit. We don't use those anymore, but I would, I'd use Google and LinkedIn and referrals from clients, but just cold call. Hi, my name's Dave Savage with, Excalibur Mortgage. That was the company I started with. I specialize in helping financial planners and their clients with real estate financing needs. Do you ever have clients that ask you about real estate financing? So now, again, guys, I am not recommending you all start with cold calling. I'm just telling you, get it done. Like, no excuses. If you don't want to call your past clients, or let's say you're new in the business and you don't have past clients. Guys, I was, didn't have Mortgage Coach, hadn't thought of it yet. Came out of the, Huntington Beach in the 80s with, spiked hair, kind of a, punk rocker looking kid, very young. And I built my practice of CPAs and financial planners by calling with that script and getting people who would meet with me and then winging it. So if I could do that, then, you guys have Mortgage Coach, you have this call, I just don't want to, they're just getting the meeting is like so much the easiest thing to do. No excuses. If you do have questions or you want more scripting on that, put it down below, but I'm going to fly by this one because it's just easy. I guess the only question I have, Craig, is where to meet. Like, do you have a preference going to their office, doing it on Zoom, any meeting venue advice for the community? In person.
There's two theories. One idea, I like going to their office because then I could see the office. 2, I might meet other advisors while I'm there. 3, I might see some things in their office that I could pick up on, like they love tennis or golfing or horses or whatever, and that might be great for a follow-up gift or book or something like that. So that's why I like going to the office. B, I like when they come to my office because my office is awesome and I can give them a tour of the place and show them how professional we are and what their clients can expect when they come here with regard to our borrower experience. So I think they're both a win if your office is great. I want to caution people real quick, Dave, because we said, you can call these people with a warm referral and go in there and then wing it. We're gonna get to this in a minute, but you have to prepare So many people are saying right now, oh my God, I'm going to call advisors tomorrow. I'm going to build. No, before you can do that, since we're moving to the how, you have to learn the training and the scripting first. And you have to understand what you're going to say when you're there, how to do the meeting, how you're going to follow up. If you're just in a rush, like so many loan officers who, talk to me about coaching and they say, I can't wait till then, I need the business right now, then this is the wrong niche. You have to slow down to go super fast here. So you've got to learn the language first. You've got to get the training. You've got to prepare your presentation. Then you make the phone call and you go have the meeting and you blow them away. If you rush to that second part before you do the homework first, then you're going to blow the meeting. You're not going to say the right things. You're not going to get another chance. And you're just going to be another mortgage junkie, talking about rates and telling them why you can't send them business back. That's not the way to go.
Got it. And roger that, totally aligned. So let's talk about how we show up in the meeting. And I do recommend everybody, you make the rhythm the first meeting is you want to come to their office because you're qualifying them too. Have that mindset that, you know what, I'm a mortgage coach, I'm a mortgage planner, I bring a lot of value. While they be super smart on the asset side of things, I am super smart on the liability side of things. I bring value. Show up at their office, get to know them, and then there's no doubt it's a goal that they come through your office experience and you guys really develop a professional strategic relationship. But let's talk
Dave, you just made a super important point there that I don't want people to blow by. I think you're right. You're interviewing them because in that initial call to get the meeting, you could say, hey, it's Greg Strent at Apex Home Loans. I handle a lot of mortgages here in Rockville and the surrounding area. And I just, oftentimes when people finish their mortgage, it's illogical that they would have a financial planning need. And I'm actually interviewing some local advisors to see who might be a good fit for my clients on a go-forward basis. So, that's a no-brainer. Of course, they're going to take the meeting then, and there's nothing incorrect in that statement. You are doing that because you are going to want to make referrals back to them. And I know there's a question on that. We'll get to it. But so don't forget, that's another way in.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think in my book, The Art of Referral, which I would highly recommend everybody check out, I open it with what I call the advisor's mindset. You have a mindset of confidence. My advice makes a difference, and you show up with that advisor's mindset. So you to Craig's point, I do recommend you get there. Although I just don't want anybody listening to this to get excuses. Like, get there. Even if you don't have the advisor's mindset yet, you will get it. But make that a goal. So let's talk about how you recommend showing up at a meeting. Any nuances? And I know you do coaching on this. And this is you help and mentor people on this, but give us some high level on what to do and how to show up in a meeting.
Prepare. I'm going to say that 3 times. That is the number one thing. Don't show up and throw up. Don't wing it. Don't come in sloppy. Don't act it like it's a realtor meeting. You should be in a shirt and tie when you're going to meet with a financial advisor. Some of them will be in shirt and tie. Some of them will just be in a jacket, no tie, whatever. Some of them will be in a golf shirt. But you have to come from a place of professionalism. These are people that are managing other people's money, and they're getting recurring revenue every single year. So they're not going to refer their person to some turkey who doesn't look the part and is not professional as part of that. It has to look like you belong on their team. So do your homework. Check them out online. Check them out on social media. Read what they've put out there. Read their bios. Go in there knowing something about them. And then once you do that, then come with value. Come with specific examples of how you have helped people use their mortgage to further their financial planning process. Be specific. Do not show up and throw up and they're going to think you're this great person and they're going to send you stuff. It's not how it works on the advisor side.
I love that. And man, I wish I would have had social media back in the day. And, not to debate with you. I just don't like wearing a tie. But if I was meeting with someone that was wearing a tie and I wanted their business, I would. But I would research them. And if they looked like they were the golf guy, I would look like the golf guy. And if they looked like they were the, cool dude shirt and a sports jacket, I would match that. But I love the research. And then, the old caveat I'll put on that is be sincere, like don't just make it like, oh, I'm always going to compliment them on something in their office. And I'm always going to say something positive about social media. Only say something if you mean it. Now, I did go in with, I don't know, what would I put? A heart of curiosity where I am curious to know about this person. And I would want, and it was my goal to intentionally compliment something that was sincere and, you know, ask a question. Oh, you know, like they had some football pictures. What's your backstory with the 49ers? So, I mean, I had those intentions and those check boxes, but you know what, if it wasn't sincere, if the office, there was nothing I liked about it, and there was nothing that I had a curious question about, I don't check the boxes. Just show up in a way that you can be yourself and you can show up really curious. So that would be a caveat I'd ask. I'd add some things for you to consider. Now you talked about case studies, and that was the backstory of how I founded Mortgage Coach, because I wanted to show up. You know, back in the day, everybody found mortgages as a sports page. And so I actually had, you know, my prop, which was the sport page. And I would kind of like start the conversation with, hey, you know, this is how your clients are finding their lender, you know, today. And they're not getting good advice. And then I came and I had like a leather binder with examples of, you know, case studies, you know, this beautiful, I think it was a Hartman leather binder, you know, that was like, I would use an iPad now personally. But, you know, back in the day, I had those props. Tell us what you do and what do you know, the loan officers that you mentor and you train, what do you tell them to do in terms of case studies and how to show up?
Absolutely. Presentation book, something I learned a long time ago. I have both versions. I have the really nice.
I think I taught you that one, by the way, man. I think
you probably did, Dave. I got a lot. And when you threw the Art of Referrals up there, I had to dust it out of my cabinet. I think I still had a hard copy. So, yeah, I mean, I have a hard leather-bound portfolio, which has all kinds of things in there about, you know, anyway, I have a presentation book that's gorgeous. And then I also have the presentation on an iPad as well. The primary thing there is case studies. As you know, I think showing examples is super important for financial advisors. Realtors don't really care because they don't have the mental bandwidth sometimes to be able to sit there and see that. Whereas advisors want to see the technical thing that you're talking about. So having the case studies is a big piece. Having some materials on your process, what clients have said, your credentialing, all those things are important as well. I bring it. We don't go through I don't sit there and go through the whole thing. As the conversation flows, I say, that's great. Let me show you a quick example of that. And then I'll have it ready to go. So I know exactly where everything is within my presentation. But the fact that I'm showing up with this presentation book or my iPad and ready to go, immediately I'm already just demonstrating competence. So the first thing is you have to demonstrate competence, and then they will have confidence in you and in referring clients to you. So you have to sort of show them what it's going to be like if they refer their people to you. Again, remember, a realtor refers somebody to you. They sell them the one house. That's the end of it. Maybe they sell them another house again. Maybe they don't. I don't know. A financial advisor typically gets as much as 1% a year to manage somebody's money. Okay, so think about that. They're getting recurring revenue every single year from that customer. So it's so important that they do a great job and that customer not leave them. It's like their egg, and they're going to have to give that to you to hold on with the mortgage. You can't mess it up. So they have to develop personal relationship and confidence in what you're going to do and how you're going to handle it professionally.
Yeah, and then remember that financial planners are no different than most people. When you say mortgage advice, they're kind of like, what's that? Like they don't understand the tangible visual value of mortgage advice. Like that's an abstract concept. And really it's only a concept that most loan officers don't really understand it. They're used to giving a fee worksheet, you know, the triangle of transaction, rate, fee, closing costs. And so the concept of I'm showing options, I'm showing the cost over different windows of time, I'm showing financial strategies like, you know, take this loan versus that loan and invest the difference or prepay your mortgage. Those are not concepts that most financial planners know. And they certainly don't know the value. It's not like when you say mortgage advice, they're just kind of like, what does that mean? So let's get into that, Craig. Let's do a case study. In my mind, you've become, you know, famous in the mortgage coach community for the 3015. And so why don't you share your screen, or if you want me to share it, because you sent me an example of one, which do you prefer, your screen or mine?
I got it. I'm going to show my move up case study, Dave, we talked about, right?
Yeah, well, that's when you forwarded me and said, hey, let's talk about this one. So guys, think of what Craig's going to pull up, or I'm going to pull up if he can't figure it out, is think of this as a case study. And And you should, every time you go into a financial planner, I would recommend that you have a rent versus own case study ready to roll. I would recommend you have a move up case study to roll for all your move up buyers. So you got first time home buyer, you got move up buyer. You know, I would recommend you have a cash versus mortgage case study ready to roll, because, you know, the cash versus mortgage is powerful, because most financial planners, you know, they think that their client should, you know, leverage the tax benefits of a mortgage and keep the mortgage, as much money under management as possible. So, you know, have a couple case studies ready. But Craig, tell us what we're looking at, and then walk us through it. Almost like you're training loan officers how to have this conversation with financial planners.
Yeah, this is a move-up buyer case study, which is almost like a modified version of the cash versus mortgage study that you just talked about. In this move-up buyer study, which I did some time ago and use regularly, you'll see here as I'm doing the Edge Live, what I do is I show the 50% down versus 20. And why do I show this? Well, most people, when you ask them, how much do you want to, when you're selling your home and buying another one, how much do you want to put down on the new home? Their knee-jerk reaction is almost always, well, I'm just going to roll my proceeds over. That's what they almost all say. It's pretty common. So a lot of times, especially in my area, in the DC area, that's a lot of money. And oftentimes it could be a huge down payment, as much as half. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, look, you could do that, and let's look at that. But also you could put down just enough to get you a great rate. In this case, I showed sometimes the 20% and 50% is the same rate. I showed it a little off here on purpose. Even if it's a little higher, look what this does. So here you have an 1/8 difference in rate. You're borrowing another $240. Now the payment looks the same, and I'll show you why in a sec, but your cash to close, obviously a lot more money down with 50%, 426 versus 187 or so at 20% down. So if we go to more info, you'll see.
Hey, real quick, I just want to interrupt. For those of you that are watching this, you'll notice that Craig is highlighting this, and Craig is a power user of, you know, the highlight feature and doing Mortgage Coach Live. But, you know, if you're new to the Mortgage Coach community, I did want you to be aware that this is a feature, so that when he clicks on it and it highlights on his desktop, it moves for the client. You know, so if you were doing a Zoom meeting, excuse me, not a Zoom, but an online conversation with someone where you're on the phone and they're looking at the report, it would be moving along with them. But right now let's just pretend that he's in the office, he's got his iPad out, and he's walking this financial planner through this strategy. Anyways,
yeah, the highlight feature is, for me, it's absolutely critical, and it freaks people out when you do it the first time. So it's sort of fun. Okay, so here's the difference, $11.92. So I'm putting down the payment. So basically what I'm saying to the customer is, look, if you can handle this higher payment, okay, then let's go with a lower down payment option, and let's invest the difference. By the way, if they can't handle the higher payment, they still can, because they're going to have this big pile of money over here, and they could subsidize the payment in the background without even noticing. So what I'm saying is, let's go with the higher number, and let's get your advisor involved, reinvestment tab here, and let's take that $240 right here. Let's throw it out at 6% over the 30-year life of ownership, and you can do this over any period of time, by the way. And let's take your regular appreciation in there we have on your home. And at year 30, your home is paid off, and you got $1,445,000 total investment. Whereas if you say, you know what, Craig, I really want the lower mortgage payment. I'm a good investor. I'll just keep putting the $1,200 a month aside. Okay, well, if you do that instead of lump summing it, responsibly over a period of time into the market, then you're only at $1,200,000 over that 30-year period. So we know, from those of you that are in Barry School, we know about velocity of money and compounding interest and all these things that, the sooner you put it away, the bigger it'll grow. And you could also be pushing back here, people on the call saying, 6% is a lot. This works at a lower number too, by the way. I'm using 6% over a 30-year period of time, incredibly reasonable if you know returns in the market for a long period of time. But look at the difference here. So an extra $250,000, $250,000. Now, these people are going to pay their home off in 30 years and they're going to retire. You just created an extra $250,000 for them along the way. But more importantly, because people always look at return when they look at this, that's only the third tenant if you're a CMPS guy. Tenants 1 and 2 are safety and liquidity, right? So this whole time, they've had all this pile of money separated from the house. Somebody gets sick, somebody loses their job, whatever. The money's over there. And again, they can use that money, if it's invested properly, to subsidize the mortgage payment in the background if it's uncomfortable. By the way, they can always recast if they don't like this strategy down the road. So I don't like tying up money in the house beyond a certain level needed to get the best terms. It's not a good investment. Stephen Marshall has an amazing slide on this about how paying your mortgage down is literally the worst investment you can make. It's illiquid. You have to pay me to borrow your own money back. There's no ROI on it. Just not a good idea. So this sort of vets that out for people. And if you just tell them this, they think you're just trying to get a bigger mortgage. But if you show it to them this way, it works better. And where this really comes in handy is when the advisor calls you, because they think the client, the home buyer, thinks the advisor is just trying to get their hands on this asset, but they're not. When you can show this with third-party validation to show it, then they really feel so much better about it. So you're an invaluable partner to the advisor in this situation. And the ideal outcome is the customer follows your strategy and you just created another $250,000 for the advisor to invest. So who's winning here? The advisor's winning, the client's winning, you're winning, because it's the right structure for everybody.
So couple things, one, I put a link to Craig's actual scenario down below. So hopefully you guys, some of you got to follow along on that. If you are listening to the recording of this call and you didn't hear it live, you won't see that. But I wanna really quick take you guys through the advice. Well, I'm gonna take you through the advice triangle and the advice star real quick. Craig, you and I went through this a little bit the other day. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, guys. And Craig, while I'm getting ready to pull this up, what would be the case studies that you most commonly bring? And then I'll go through this, but what are the case studies you most commonly bring?
I think the 30 versus 15 and the move up buy are the two most powerful ones that I use.
Okay, cool. Thank you, brother. And then for those of you that are new to this strategy, just start building kind of a portfolio of success stories and case studies. And when we get to follow up, that's another thing. When you're following up with these financial planners, you want to you want to market them with stories and strategies of where you've delivered mortgage advice to help a family build wealth with real estate faster. But this is what most loan officers do. And by the way, if this is what you do, you will not have a competitive advantage with financial planners. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say that if all you're doing is fee worksheets and doing transactions, you shouldn't work with financial planners. I would just say you're going to have a hard time being super successful with them. And you're not bringing that much value to a financial planner if this is how you quote rates. You're just not. It's not that valuable. What Craig does, what we teach, is what we call, the advice star, where you're not only bringing, the monthly payment, the interest rate, and the closing costs. Those are transactional details that are important, but you're showing the cost over time. This is when you start to become an advisor, and you're saying, hey, look at this mortgage strategy versus this mortgage strategy over a window of time that's relevant to you. That is mortgage advice. And then, this is mortgage advice where you say, hey, what about if you prepaid the mortgage or you invested the difference? The slide that Craig was talking about, it's brother A versus brother B. And, brother B, didn't do anything strategic with his mortgage. Brother A invested the difference. And heck, we could do a brother A, B, and C, which is brother B does nothing, or brother A does nothing, brother B reinvests, and brother C invest the difference. But that's mortgage advice, guys. And at Mortgage Coach, that's what we're serious about doing is we think until you've got the family to look at their mortgage strategically, like until they've gone like, whoa, I never thought of my mortgage that way. Until you've given them what I call a star moment, something they will always remember, you do not have a competitive advantage with financial planners. This is the roadmap to success with financial planners. When you can have a mortgage conversation where even the financial planner is like, wow, I never thought of a mortgage like that. Couple other considerations to be a Mortgage Coach Black Belt. You need to be able to add a video to a total cost analysis. So you're amplifying your personal advice on it. Audio feature. This is huge. Live, this is what Craig talked about. If you guys were on the link that he was on as he was going through it, he's providing a live experience. It's interactive. The family's learning rapidly. Omni-channel, that's why I like Craig, he's got a presentation book, old school. He's got an iPad, new school, omni-channel. He's got some things printed out for people that want things on paper. He's got it on mobile if they want it on mobile. He's got it ready on a desktop if they want it on desktop, omni-channel. And then again, it's options. This is what a mortgage coach black belt can do. And then the last point, Craig, mortgage coach black belts, they can take these concepts and they can do them with any mortgage strategy, whether that's a cash out refinance, a debt consolidation refinance, an FHA versus conventional, cost awaiting, every MI, turning a client that has a low down payment and have MI conversation. That when you can do all these things with these strategies, you are valuable to financial planners. So Craig, anything else you want to add to that part before we kind of, one, do some Q&A, and two, talk about how we follow up with planners? Anything else?
No, I think we covered how to get ready and prepare for that meeting and do it correctly.
Okay, cool. So we got 15 minutes left. I do want to make sure, I don't want to just wait till the end, because when I bring people on to interview them, I bring them on to interview them because, one, I think that the time that we spend doing this interview will be really valuable to you. And I hope we met that bar with you. If you got value from this, give us a like. But I also bring people on because I think that you should mastermind with them after this. If they're a coach, I think you should, if it's a fit, you should engage. And I know you are coaching a very select few professionals. If anybody did want to reach out to you, how would they do it? And then also, what kind of coaching do you do?
Yeah, so my email is just my name, Craig, at apexhomeloans.com. As you can see the company name in the back, Craig at apexhomeloans.com. Small groups at a time, 5 people for a 6-month period. And it's a very deep dive. We do 2 calls a month, an hour. There's a lot of homework in between. We record all the stuff. It's a lot of scripting. I provide materials that I use, all my sort of blueprint, scripting, targeting, what to say, how to do it, what to get on the training, all that stuff, how to follow up properly for the long term. So we're looking at building sustainable long-term books of business with advisors. So we want people to walk away and, they're getting, at least a few referrals from advisors every month for the rest of their career. That's the goal, just how I have my business set up now. And it's just a much better, more enjoyable mortgage existence. So I've been doing it for so long, and a lot of people have been asking me about it for a while. So that's what I started doing.
I love it. And again, if I was a mortgage pro, I'd be a black belt at mortgage coach, obviously. And then I would have a little belt, like a little extra stripe on that black belt, and become a Craig Strent ninja, so I think it makes sense. I hope some people take Craig up on it. You know how to reach out to him. You can connect with him on LinkedIn, and you've got his email address, guys. So before I hit the Q&A, I want to talk about following up, because, I know back in my day, I would meet them. They're like, wow, you're awesome. And my follow-up was just pretty much as simple as forwarding them case studies. Hey, here's another family, and how I helped them strategically with their mortgage. And while I did top of mind marketing, I was very intentional with CPAs and financial planners. It was all about case study marketing. Tell me what you advise to people in today's market, and what do you do to follow up in an intentional way?
I don't send recipes. That's what I don't do. So it's not the right thing. You want hardcore technical information that advisors are going to find useful. Case studies is great. If you send a case study once a quarter to an advisor, you'll stay top of mind with them. Integrate the video into it. Do a case study where you record a video into the case study. That's certainly super efficient. And then you could send it to a lot of advisors all at once. You could post it on social media, tag the advisors that you want to see it, and so on. I would publish stuff on LinkedIn. Be a technical expert in your area. How do mortgages fit into financial planning? I would send articles relative to mortgages and financial planning. If you get the Wall Street Journal, there's stuff in there constantly that's relative to it. Sometimes I agree with it, sometimes I don't, and I can include commentary for it. So there's so many different ways you could follow up, but you do need to stay top of mind, and you should be following up with technical things. And I would also spend time one-on-one. Find out what they like to do and do it with them. And look for local speakers that are going to be interesting to both of you. Send them a book that might be a topic of interest to you and them, and then follow up and have a conversation about it. I could go on for an hour with how to follow up, Dave, with these people, but the only thing you shouldn't do is just not follow up and think, oh my God, that was a great meeting. I'm going to sit back and here come the referrals. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I would look at it this way. My tagline was Dave Savage, my advice makes a difference. And then everything I did supported that personal brand. There was no such thing as LinkedIn back in the day. I would use LinkedIn. That would be my number one most important marketing tool, where my post and my content, it all supports this concept that my advice makes a difference. I'm informed on the market, and then I'm putting case studies out there in LinkedIn. And then I'm, not everybody's on LinkedIn and sees all that. So I would forward an email here and there, at least quarterly, no more than monthly. And then I would do a text video every now and then. Don't just do things to do things with financial planners. Do things when it's valuable. Like, your marketing needs to be valuable to them, or don't do it. You will become noise. And I love the way Craig said, I don't send recipes. That will hurt your brand with a financial planner. With a financial planner, you need to be like, my advice makes a difference, and everything you do supports that. Craig, anything you want to add to that before we just wrap out on some of these questions?
No, just staying in touch with the advisors and being top of mind with technical info. That is by far the best way to go. I recently, before the Fed rate cut, I put out a video to advisors and to clients, just basically saying, okay, the Fed just cut rates. Everybody thinks rates went down. That was a different rate. Here's the story. Here's how to explain it to your clients. And the feedback I got from advisors was tremendous. And if you're even an MBS Highway subscriber, that stuff's all right there for you. You just got to read it and regurgitate it onto a video. So it's not hard. All the content is around you. Just got to grab it and repurpose. Absolutely. And if you're not doing at least one mortgage coach TCA case study quarterly, you are blowing it. I would do it monthly, but make sure you do a TCA case study. So guys, let's hit some questions. I'm gonna give the first question to our audience in Facebook Live, and if you're watching the recording of this and you have a question, post it. I'll make sure it gets answered. But someone's just saying, like, what are the most common objections, and how do you respond to them? So what do you hear most as far as issues? The most common objections to getting the meeting, or the most common objections to getting the referrals? Yeah, let's not do the meeting, and by the way, if anybody wants to clarify, but let's just say, like, you've met them, you've talked to them. What are the objections? How do you overcome them? Well, certainly, they have to make sure that you're legit and professional and competent before they send you their clients. So that's why you have to be able to demonstrate and show examples of things that you've done in the past and how you're going to treat their clients and how you look at the mortgage. This is why so many of us get referrals from realtors that we never knew after a transaction when we dealt with them, because they saw how our team operated and they go, oh, I want to work with that loan officer. So for the same thing, you got to sort of show them ahead of time what it's going to look like. So that's certainly an objection, is that they're concerned about what their customer will expect if they refer them to you, and your level of confidence, and if they're going to have a good experience. That's definitely a primary one. What else? I know back in the day, the two most common ones for me were either they wanted to get paid for their referrals, or they wanted to, ensure that, like, they're exclusive. Like, I'll refer to you, but you've got to refer everybody to me. And I know how I handled that. How do you handle those two nuances, and how often those come up? So the first one is, just for people out there, I've been meeting with advisors for, I'm going to say 19 years now. I have never, ever, I'm not kidding, I have never once had an advisor ask me to pay them for them referring clients. It's never come up, literally not come up. So park that. In fact, I've had advisors offer me money to refer my clients to them, and they'll give me a piece of the assets under management. I've never done that either, because I think that's a conflict of interest there. So it's come the other way. Now, in terms of the one-way referral back and forth, this is a common one. I thought I saw a question pop up on it earlier. It's a tough one for sure, right? But here's what you have to remember. The advisor, they need us, right? It's not like the realtor has 15 other loan officers. If you do a good job in the initial meeting, they'll realize, like, wow, I'm really missing the boat on this, because we create and preserve assets, and that's how they get paid. So it naturally makes sense to partner with us. So if they say, hey, you're going to send me referrals back? Yes, I am. But just like the homeowner's insurance agent gets more referrals from me than I get from him because I'm earlier in the food chain, such is going to be the case here. You're probably going to refer more people to me. But my people are transactional. When I refer them back, that's a client you're going to have forever with recurring revenue. So it's not about how many clients. It's about what it's going to be long term. And by the way, I'm a master databaser. And I stay in touch with my clients, so I'll refer them later on as I build the network. And by the way, after every meeting, every closing, I ask my clients if they'd like a referral. I even show them a survey where I ask that question, right? So I'm demonstrating that, yes, over time, they're going to build a big base. If somebody says, can I be the exclusive person you only refer to? I'd say no, because based on what I've heard on this call today, there are certain clients that fit what you do. And, you know, whereas mortgage people, we're a little more flexible. We can sort of help a lot of people, everybody. Advisors is not true. Some specialize in newer families. Some specialize in managing a lot of money. Some are good at health insurance. Some are better at picking investments. So, no, I'm not going to refer every single one of my clients to you because that doesn't make sense. That's not best for the client. And now you've just demonstrated again that you're watching out for the client, which is what they want to hear.
Yeah. And my answer to this, guys, is first of all, you need to have delivered mortgage advice and shown them how you're helping their family. And you also need to have done it with examples that show that you're helping them. You know, like I'm helping people invest more money with you because every time they get mortgage advice, I can show this invest the difference strategy. So, you know, they're going to be more strategic and they're going to be invest more money. So just like I teach people that when it comes to what's the mortgage coach competitive advantage? Like if you are the mortgage coach black belt to a realtor, it makes you a better conversion partner because I can create clarity for that family, which is going to create urgency, which is going to help them convert with you. With a financial planner, it's like, I am going to make them a better investor. Like referring them to me makes them a better client to you. And because I'm delivering this next level service, they're going to refer you more business. So I would always make like the conversation, the experience of working with me is they're going to invest more money with you. They're going to refer more people to you. And I also had this process where you, after meeting with me and seeing my experience, you would know that out of all the financial advisors, and when I'm saying financial advisors, I'm saying CPAs, financial advisors, mortgage people, I'm the best. And not only am I going to give the best advice, I'm going to get the most referrals because of the way that I market to them. So like they look at referring to business to you as a multiplier. That's the goal. Craig, we got 3 minutes left. Anything you want to comment on in general, or, you know, just knowing that you're talking to a lot of your peers here in the mortgage coach community, is there anything that you're passionate about that you want to share before we wrap it up?
The advisors need you. They may not know it yet, but they need you. So focus on your way of explaining to them why they need you. And a big way to do that is asking what they're doing now on the mortgage side. Are they referring it to this guy or girl? Okay, how are they doing? They're okay, they're not great. Well, here's how I'm different than that mortgage person. What are you doing now? I'm not doing anything. I tell them to call their bank or servicer. Really? Their bank who tries to pull their assets from you by cross-selling internally, that's where you're sending them? Their servicer who's overwhelmed with refinance volume and they're getting terrible service from them? Don't you want to create value here? What do you do, Mr. Advisor, if they ask you about their estate plan? Well, I send them to an estate planning attorney. What do you do if they ask about their taxes? Well, I send them to a CPA. So why aren't you sending them to a mortgage professional that you've personally vetted when they ask you about their mortgage? Their number one liability. That's it.
Boom. So Craig, you are such an asset to the mortgage coach community and to the mortgage industry in general, dude. Really appreciate you sharing, being so transparent, sharing so much value. I skimmed all the questions. So those of you that asked questions, thank you. I think we answered them all throughout this conversation. If we didn't get your question answered, or if you're listening to the recording, put your question in comments and we will get it answered. Remember, I also will be posting, I'm going to post it tomorrow, my black belt interview with Craig Strent. Check that out if you want to learn how to be a mortgage coach black belt. And anyways, appreciate everybody. Craig Strent, you the man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Dave.
Everybody have
Appreciate
a fantastic day. And this call is a wrap. See you all later.